From your breaking news and weather authority, this is 13 WHAM News at 6 in high definition.
Good evening. I will spare you. We were just rehearsing here in the studio a big chorus of Over the River and Through the Woods to Grandmother's House, and it's going to be a little tricky to make that trip this year. A winter storm is in our forecast. All of this, of course, just days before Thanksgiving. Some of the busiest travel days of the year. Let's turn to Glenn Johnson now to find out when the snow is coming, how much we can expect.
Well, travelers may be singing the blues here, Don. We're talking about a storm system that's coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. That means lots of moisture meeting up with some of this colder air. Take a look at the radar here. The center of the low still located down towards Louisiana, but there's no doubt that this is going to be heading up the East Coast and certainly going to make an impact on Rochester. Now, let's go in for a closer look here on the radar. Not much in terms of anything, really just a couple of snow flurries here and there, but let me show you the winter storm watches and warnings. Essentially, on the west side, that's where the warnings are. That means we're a little more sure that we're going to be dealing with a winter storm Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday night and into Wednesday. And on the east side, that's where we have the watch in effect. So take a look at our weather forecast here as we go through the evening. No issues. Temperatures slowly going to be dropping through the 20s. And if you're traveling and if you're heading out early, should be fine for the morning, but things will go downhill by the afternoon. Snow is going to be developing area-wide. We think this is going to be a wet, sloppy mix into Tuesday night. Accumulation, and again, this is conservative, anywhere from 6 to 12 inches by Wednesday, and then some additional lake snow and wind heading into Thursday morning, Thanksgiving morning. I don't know if we'll be giving thanks by then. We'll talk more about this in a couple of minutes.
It was a little nerve-wracking. I moved. That was my first reaction. Then I called 911.
A witness to the wrong-way driver on Interstate 490 says the truck was driving fast and didn't seem affected by oncoming headlights. 30-year-old Robert Rector was in court today to face charges of vehicular manslaughter and driving while intoxicated. He is accused of hitting an SUV, killing its driver, 19-year-old Khadijah McKenzie. 13 WHAM's Kelsey Smith joining us now from the Hall of Justice where Rector was arraigned earlier today. Kelsey?
Don, court documents have witness statements from more than one witness saying that they saw a truck driving the wrong way on I-490 Saturday morning. Also in those documents, Rector told police at the accident scene that he drank beers before getting behind the wheel. 19-year-old Khadijah McKenzie's family quietly left the Rochester City Courthouse Monday morning, 48 hours after losing a member of their family.
She was just a full package of a friend, a family member, a big sister, a cook, someone that you could talk to.
McKenzie was driving westbound on Interstate 490 when troopers say she was hit head-on by 30-year-old Robert Rector of Fairport. We spoke to a witness who says he was driving on this stretch of the highway when he first saw the headlights coming towards him.
I knew it was a vehicle after the second look, and then it was a little nerve-wracking.
John Amrosino is a bartender, so when he drives at that time of night after work, he says he's extra cautious.
It's scary because you know what time of night it is, you know where you came from, and you got to pay attention to what's going on around you.
Rector told police at the scene he didn't know where he was coming from, but he was driving to Fairport. He also admitted to drinking alcohol before getting behind the wheel.
Our family hope to get justice. Our family hope not just justice for Khadijah, but also for other family members who have lost children and loved ones to drunk drivers, and nothing comes out of it.
Rector's family and lawyer wouldn't comment after court Monday. Rector is enrolled in graduate school at Nazareth University. He is also a sergeant in the U.S. Army National Guard. He deployed to Afghanistan in 2012. Live in Rochester, Kelsey Smith, 13 WHAM News.
All right, thank you, Kelsey. An off-duty Rochester police officer who saved 3 children from this burning van on Saturday says the real hero is the man who got to the last child just before that vehicle exploded. The children and their mother were broadsided in Henrietta, returning from a birthday party. Jane Flash now with more on the story of this dramatic rescue and the mystery good Samaritan who ensured a happy and not a tragic ending to all of this.
Yeah, had some story, Don. On that snowy Saturday, Rochester police officer Christine Wilson and her mother had taken a detour because of a closed road. Now, Christine was in the right place at the right time to rescue 3 of the children before her own mother pulled her out of that exploding van. All she could think of, though, was the child that was left behind.
The mother of the van jumps out of her car, you know, screaming, my babies, somebody help me.
Christine Wilson says her experience as a police trainer and 11-year veteran immediately kicked in. While others ran away from this burning vehicle, she ran to it.
They became my babies, and I just knew I had to act fast.
She was quickly able to release the seatbelt of the 9-year-old, then set to work on an infant carrier.
Her beautiful eyes was just looking at me, so I'm like, I could do this.
The 2-year-old twins remained locked in their car seats. She pulled the first out of his harness.
I gave him a good yank, and he fell in my arms, thank God.
By now, the van was filled with smoke, no visibility inside, temperature climbing.
I then start hearing popping, you know, the windows busting out. So now I'm just like, oh my God, you know, just give me a couple of more seconds, you know, I could do this.
Officer Wilson says the next thing she was aware of was being on the side of West Henrietta Road, in the fresh air, rescued by her own mother, and in agony for the child she couldn't get to.
The vehicle was on fire, and now as a mother, she got to save her child, so she grabbed me. I'm on my knees yelling and screaming to the Lord, help me, Jesus, please. I did not get that last child.
There was no going back. Then Officer Wilson heard a commotion.
It's some unknown man. He came from the back of the vehicle, yelling, running towards me with that last child, saying, I got him. I got the last child. I don't know who this guy was, but he really is the hero.
Now, at that point, she says the van started exploding. Officer Wilson scooped up the two of the children and ran behind a building. Everyone is okay. In an interview yesterday, the children's mother says she owes everything to their rescuers, even though the identity of one of them still remains a mystery. Don?
All right. Hey, thank you, Jane. Much to be thankful for this week. Well, there is still no cause of death of a St. Bonaventure student and Rochester native Tyler Davis. He had left a party early Saturday morning. His body found near an entrance to St. Bonaventure on Sunday. The 2012 Bishop Kearney grad is remembered as a bright and positive person. Graduates are returning to Bishop Kearney for a prayer vigil that is being organized by the school.
So I think them being able to come together, hold one another in prayer will help them get through this tragedy.
The vigil date has not been set, but is tentatively planned for this weekend. In Wayne County, 2 people escaped after their car landed in the Erie Canal early Saturday morning. This happened near Alderman Road and Route 31 in Massillon. Police say Randy Cole and his passenger got out through the sunroof. We're told their injuries are not serious. An early morning fire destroyed a home on Grand Avenue in Rochester today. It started in the attic of the home just after 5 a.m. The Red Cross is helping 6 adults and 10 kids who lived inside. No word yet on the cause of that fire. They're going to have to tear that house down. Still ahead on 13 WHAM News at 6, the new deal that will bring new jobs to Bausch & Lomb. But first...
How good is it to go home?
Oh, you have no idea.
He spent a year and a half in a hospital following a fiery crash that left him severely injured. What's next for this young man now that he's finally going home? There's a Thanksgiving story to inspire you. No one tells it better than Patrice Walsh. A 23-year-old Rochester man severely injured and burned in a car accident 2 years ago is finally going home to be with his family. As we hear from Patrice tonight, Kadeem Fulmore spent the last year and a half recovering at Monroe Community Hospital, and saying goodbye was tough for everyone.
I don't know exactly how the crash happened.
Kadeem Fulmore was in a coma when he arrived at Monroe Community Hospital in the spring of 2012 with burns over 60% of his body. The prognosis wasn't good.
Just waking up here and now knowing nothing. God kept me here.
It wasn't until a year later Kadeem was told his best friend, Anthony Washington, died in that crash. But Kadeem knew he had to stay positive.
There's no going back, so there's nothing you can do about that.
He worked with physical therapists, learning to walk and talk again.
Never gave up. You know, all the challenges we threw at him, he took head on.
This has been home for the past year and a half, but now Kadeem is really going home to be with his family, his mother, grandfather, and younger sister. He'll still receive care there, but he's looking forward to a home-cooked meal, maybe pasta, made by his mother.
But I'm just like, I'm glad the time is finally here.
Saying goodbye to the staff members who have become like family was tough.
They're great. Like, I've been through so much since I've been here.
He's like everybody's little brother around here.
Kadeem was given a scrapbook to remember his time here and sent off with plenty of hugs.
How good is it to go home?
Oh, you have no idea. I've been waiting for this since I woke up here.
Reporting in Rochester, Patrice Walsh, 13 WHAM News.
Kadeem graduated from Aquinas in 2008 and was in his senior year at college when this happened. He hopes to finish up his college degree and get a job in finance. Well, coming up tonight on 13 WHAM News at 11, a warning for consumers about scams related to the Affordable Care Act. We're going to hear from a young Rochester mother who fell victim to one of them. Find out who else is being targeted and what you can do to protect yourself. Well, still ahead, we're going to take a look at the forecast for this all-important Thanksgiving week. Also ahead, how the local Tour de Cure is building a buzz in the community. There may be a meteorologist involved in this as well.
Now your planning forecast from the 13 WHAM Weather Authority.
All right, we're talking about traveling tomorrow. Now, again, if you get out in the morning, it's not going to be a big deal. But as we go into the afternoon, maybe you're heading west along the New York State Thruway. This is where the winds are going to pick up. The snow's going to pick up. The temperature is going to start to drop through the 30s. Now, if you're heading east along the Thruway, heading out to, say, Albany, I think it's more of a mix. Maybe some snow, some sleet, maybe some freezing rain. Temperature starts in the mid-30s and then begins to drop. Now, what if you're flying out of town? Well, that poses another set of problems here. Along the East Coast, we think it's going to be mainly rain from Boston down to New York City, Washington, D.C. Hey, if you're going out towards Chicago, should be clear sailing, lots of sunshine. Temperatures are going to be in the mid-30s. So it depends on where you are, what time you're traveling. Most of the issues are going to be right here in western New York, we think, as we go through the next 72 hours. Right now, we got mostly cloudy skies at the airport. Temperatures above freezing. We're at 34 degrees. And again, at this point, the warnings, the winter storm warnings are in effect from Monroe County on west. That means we're a little bit more sure on the west side of town. This is where most of the accumulating snow is going to be located. On the east side, that's where the watch is still in effect. Now, that may be upgraded to a warning at some point. It's by the National Weather Service. So tomorrow we start out in the low 30s, and I think it's just mainly gray skies. Once we get into the afternoon, you can see how some of these snow showers start to fill in. It's going to be a south to north progression late in the afternoon. Now, if we get temperatures in the low 30s, then you're talking about that sloppy, messy kind of snowfall. That makes it very difficult to drive in. Keep this in mind. So the real issues are going to come in by tomorrow night. And I think once we go through time here over the next 24 hours, this is where the snow is going to start to pick up, certainly. And I think accumulations are going to be approaching 6 inches by Wednesday morning. And again, this is just one computer model. And this one computer model is saying that maybe we're close to a foot by the time we get done here during the day on Wednesday. That's not even including some of the lake effect snow that may be coming as we go into Thanksgiving Day. So let's show you the setup here. There's the cold air with this weather system, and then this tremendous amount of moisture that's heading up the East Coast. Now, when this all moves on through, this is going to be late Wednesday into Thursday. Then the winds are going to be picking up. Then we start to get a lake effect snow on top of this. So I think things begin to settle down as we go through the afternoon on Thanksgiving. So our weather forecast through this evening, mostly cloudy, some lake snow flurries and snow showers west of Rochester. Not a big deal tonight. Tomorrow morning, mainly gray. Once we get into the afternoon, we start to get a steady area-wide snow developing, and a couple of inches are going to be likely by the evening. Here's a look at the 7-day. As we mentioned, really Wednesday into early Thursday, it's going to be a problem for getting around town. Temperatures on Thursday, this is going to be some of the coldest weather for a Thanksgiving day in many years in Rochester. We're still trying to look this up, but it may be the coldest in some 30 years, and we may end up with a record amount of snow for Thanksgiving.
All right. Hey, thank you, Glenn. I know you've got your exercise in.
I did.
For Thanksgiving already. Rochester's Tour de Cure is going to return in 2014. Some of our 13 WHAM family creating a little buzz for the upcoming event. The Tour de Cure raising money for diabetes research. Each month until the race on June 8th, the tour will visit local landmarks for an interactive spin event. There you see Chief Meteorologist Glenn Johnson and Jennifer Johnson. taking a spin on the stationary bikes at the Seneca Park Zoo today. How far did you go? You measured that? Or you just...
We didn't go that far, but Jennifer was making me look bad. She was doing much better.
We look forward to that. Thanks for your involvement in that. And coming up next, how police say they caught the suspect in several local burglaries. Irondequoit police arrested a man they say is responsible for burglaries in Irondequoit, Greece, and the city. They were responding to a 911 call about a burglary in progress on Heberly Road. When they arrived, they found the suspect, they say, Gerald Spinicia, burglarizing a home. Bausch & Lomb plans to manufacture a next-generation contact lens called Zeus right here in Rochester at the North Goodman Street facility. Senator Chuck Schumer says the new owner, Valiant, reconsidered plans to make that lens in Ireland because the local plant was already developing the pilot line. The governor's office says B&L will receive tax credits and will add about 100 new jobs as a result. Public radio station WXXI announcing today that Evan Dawson will take over as host of AM 1370's midday talk show effective the first of the year. Dawson, who has been our morning news anchor at this station for the past 6 years, will replace Bob Smith, who suffered a stroke in the spring and is currently in long-term rehabilitative care. Little change on Wall Street today as the Nasdaq crossed above the 4,000 mark but failed to stay there by the closing bell. The Dow Jones Industrials gained almost 8 points. Nasdaq picked up about 3. The S&P 500 was down 2 1/4 for the day. Mike is here. Sports is coming up.
Can we talk playoffs with the Bills? Well, we did today as they go to Toronto. What are they thinking about being in the race? Sports is next.
Now, 13 Wham Sports.
Coming off the bye, the Bills are getting set for their annual trip to Toronto. There's always the concern when they started this series, playing home games that mattered away from the Ralph. But that's what they have this week. And yes, the game is important. With the story, here's Toby Matika.
Mike, I know the Bills didn't play yesterday, but they still managed to pick up a half game in the standings. Thanks to losses by both the Jets and the Dolphins, Buffalo woke up this morning just 1 game out of the AFC's final wild card spot with 5 games still to go.
You can't help but take note and understand that, you're right there in the threshold of everything. And so, yeah, I mean, and hearing that and seeing it, it's good, but, we still got to stay focused.
Focus should be the operative word here. While the Bills' next 3 opponents have combined for just 7 wins, this team knows it can't take anything or anyone for granted.
That can get you some excited feelings, but when that happens, you kind of got to look in the mirror and say, hey, we have 4 wins at this point. We got a long way to go. And we go nowhere without beating Atlanta.
It's not going to do us any good to talk about what happened this weekend or, what could happen. We just have to focus on, taking care of our business and, kind of putting our nose down. And then at the end of the month, then kind of looking up. But, talking about it, it's not going to do us any good.
Now, one thing to keep in mind. Yes, it's exciting to be 1 game out of the playoffs with 5 games to go, but Buffalo technically sits in 14th in the AFC standings right now thanks to tiebreakers and 6 teams with 5 and 6 records in front of them. Reporting with the Bills in Orchard Park, Toby Matika, 13 Wham Sports.
Yeah, Stevie Johnson back at practice today. He should be a go this week. Here's the schedule down the stretch. In Toronto this week, then 2 Florida games, Tampa and Jacksonville. Home with the Dolphins. They end with the Patriots. Speaking of the Patriots, they were playing Peyton and the Broncos last night. Denver blew a 24-0 halftime lead, trailed by 7 late in the 4th when Manning drove his team down for the tying score. In overtime, both teams struggled to move the ball, but New England gets the huge break. They're punting late in the game, and watch what happens. The ball hits the back of the leg of a player for Denver, recovered by the Patriots. 2 plays later, Steven Gostkowski hit the game winner. The Patriots pull off the stunner and win it last night. The SU basketball team picked a good week to get out of town, way out of town. They're in Maui. Yes, this is what they're seeing. We hate you. Trevor Cooney with the 3 here early against Minnesota. Cuse with the early lead, and then the alley-oop coming up here. Tyler Ennis to Rakeem Christmas for the dunk. Now, Minnesota went on a run, but currently Syracuse leads it 33-32. They are late in the first half.
Had to put that little shot in there for us. Huh?
That's annoying, but good for them.
All right. Well, finally tonight, our bright spot shines on Renee Durso's 2nd grade class at Phelps Clifton Springs School and their Trees for Troops. Each year, kids write letters asking for donations to purchase Christmas trees for our troops overseas. This past weekend, the students helped pack those trees for shipment. Each one got a tree, packed 1 tree in a box, then sent it along the assembly line to add ornaments and stockings. A bright spot salute to Mrs. Durso's 2nd graders for thanking those who protect our nation who can't be home for the holidays. And one more look at the weather.
Watches and warnings go into effect tomorrow afternoon.
SU highlights.
And more right here at 10 and 11.
Black Friday's coming. That time of year, chaos, pandemonium.